Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Dev Torkoal. Today, going to be doing a different type of video. Today, I'm going to be going over my top 5 budget Lost Origin decks. Now, these are all going to be decks that were heavily influenced by the release of Lost Origin. So even though the Reggie's deck is probably the best overall budget deck right now, it's not going to make the list because it didn't have a heavy influence from the Lost Origin set. I plan to do this with future set releases as well, and I have a video here on my main YouTube channel of each of these decks, so if you want to get some more insight on them and how to play them, you can check out those videos. I'll leave links for them right over here. And if you guys want to easily import any of the deck lists for any of the decks that I talk about in this video, go over to my PokemonCard.io page. There'll be a link for that in the description where you can check out and find all the deck lists for these decks in this video, so you can quickly import them into PTCGO or PTCG Live and start playing with them right now. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. Let's start at number 5, which is the Swim Freely Dugong. Now, the way I'm going to be ranking these decks is kind of based on how enjoyable I think they are to play and how powerful I think they overall are in the format. So Dugong here at number 5, the Swim Freely Dugong, which is powered by the Finian with the Oceanic Accompaniment ability, which allows us to attach as many water energy as we want from our hand to our Pokemon in play that have the Swim Freely attack, which the Dugong does have. Now, it's not the main attack with this deck. The main attack is the flow return on the Dugong, 40 times the amount of water energy we put from in play back into our deck, and we do play 10 water energy, so we can hit for up to 400 damage. And because all the water energy go back to the deck, we just have to find them again, and then we can once again attack for potentially 400 damage on the next turn. Now, we usually don't have to hit for 400, but there is the possibility of it, and we search out our water energy, of course, with the Capacious Buckets and the Lady. Now, this deck, well, it's pretty good up against multi-prize decks. If you go up against something like a Palkia or a Mew VMAX or even a Kyurem VMAX, we stand a pretty good chance, but come up a little bit short against anything that has a couple one-prize Pokemon or is like a fully one-prize deck, stuff like the Sablezard and stuff. So Dugong coming in at number 5. Up at number 4, we have the Trevenant with the Elder Tree Barrier ability, which says if our opponent's V Pokemon knock out our Trevenant, they don't take any prize cards. So up against V decks, this deck is great because, I mean, our opponent doesn't take any prize cards. So the whole game plan is to try and chain Trevenants and just go Trevenant after Trevenant after Trevenant after Trevenant until ideally we draw 6 prize cards before our opponent. So we play a 4-3 Trevenant line, pretty heavy on the Trevenant, and the way we set them up is with the Cherim with the Spring Bloom ability, and the way we recycle our Trevenants is with Clara. We play 4 Clara and 2 Palpads to recover even more Claras to get back more Trevenants to hopefully make it so our opponent never draws any prize cards, ideally. So up against V decks, obviously it's great. Once again, another deck, though, if we come up against a bunch of one-prize Pokemon, even the Aqua Bullet and Teleon can be a little bit tough to deal with, to be honest, because that can draw prize cards up against our Trevenant. But if we're playing up against V decks, Trevenant puts us in a pretty good spot, and that's my number 4. Coming in at number 3, we've got Spiritomb Cincino. Spiritomb with the Chain of Spirits attack for 2 dark energy. We do 10 damage plus 60 more damage for each Spiritomb in our discard pile, and has a Curse Message ability, which says when this Pokemon's knocked out, we can search our deck for any one card, which makes it pretty easy to chain Spiritombs, to be honest, as long as the Spiritomb's getting KO'd. So with 3 Spiritomb in our discard pile, we're hitting for 190 damage. If we get a Choice Belt involved, we're doing 220 damage, which KOs pretty much all V Pokemon in play, or all V Pokemon in the format. And then we can 2-hit KO most V Pokemon with back-to-back Spiritombs, but we can get a little bit more damage out of this deck because we do play the Ditto from the Pokemon Go set with the Sudden Transformation. It allows us to copy any attacks from basic Pokemon in our discard pile. So we can put 4 Spiritombs in our discard pile. We can use Ditto to copy the attack of Spiritomb Chain of Spirits. So we're hitting for 250 damage. And then if we get a Choice Belt involved, we're doing 280 damage, which allows us to 1-hit KO any V Pokemon in the format. Come up a little bit short on the 1-hit KO on the V Maxes, but we can always 2-hit KO those for 3 prize cards, which is fine. And Mew V Max is even weak to dark, which means the Spiritomb with a couple Spiritombs in the discard pile will get a 1-hit KO. Anyways, Cincino is in here as our aggressive draw engine, and Make Do is also nice, not just to draw cards, but also get our Spiritombs in the discard pile as well. So Spiritomb coming in as my number 3 budget deck. Coming up at number 2 is probably the deck that I think I have the most fun with. It's not the most competitive, so that's why it's not number 1, but it is the Weirdeer Donk deck, made possible by the Clefairy with the Moon Watching Party ability, which once during our turn, if the Clefairy is in the active, it can put a Psychic Energy from our deck on all of our benched Clefairy, and we can use this as many times as we want for each Clefairy we have in play. And it also has a decent attack with the Wonderstorm attack. It does cost 3 colorless energy, but when we have so many Clefairies in play, accelerating energy to other Clefairies, it's not too hard to set it up, and it does 20 damage for each Psychic Energy attached to all of our Pokemon. But the main attacker in this deck actually isn't the Clefairy, it is the Weirdeer V with the Frontier Road ability, which says when it comes from the bench to the active spot, we can move any energy from any of our other Pokemon in play to the Weirdeer. So we use Clefairy, we get a bunch of energy in play, we Frontier Road, get the Weirdeer in the active, and start swinging for big damage with the Size Shield Bash, which does 40 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. And this is a Donk deck, so we choose to go second with this deck, and we try and attack turn 1 with Weirdeer and take knockouts on whatever our opponent's Pokemon is. Even if it's a V Pokemon, it's actually not too hard to get a turn 1 KO with the Weirdeer. So super fun Donk deck, and there is a decent amount of backup in this deck. It's not just a Donk deck. We have a decent amount of late game. We got 3 Weirdeer in here and an Ordinary Rod, so we don't really run out of attackers. That's not really too big of a concern. And then we also play 3 Energy Recyclers, so as our Weirdeers go down and lose, 5, 6 energy even potentially, the Energy Recyclers plus the Ordinary Rod allows us to get enough energy back into the deck to be able to chain attacks with Weirdeers and actually close out games past just getting a turn 1 knockout on our opponent's active Pokemon. And coming in at number 1 is the Hisuian Arcanine deck. Now, this is probably one of my favorite decks to come out of Lost Origin in general. I find this deck to be a ton of fun. It's one of the hardest decks, I think, to play in the format. Maybe the hardest to play correctly. There's so many little things going on turn to turn with this deck. Of course, Arcanine is the main attacker in the deck with a very vulnerable attack, which is 10 plus 150 more damage for 0 energy if you have 0 cards in your hand. So we're swinging with this as our main attacker. A couple other attacking options in the deck. We do have the Slowbro with the Twilight Inspiration attack to close out games more aggressively, which we can use if our opponent has exactly 1 prize card remaining. We take 2 prize cards for 2 energy. We do play 1 Twin Energy to attack with the Slowbro. And the other attacker we have in here is a Mightyena, because without Mightyena, I don't think we'd be able to beat Mew VMAX, because they could just sit there and Psychic Leap into Mew V over and over and over again. And we actually can't want to KO Mew V, so we'd eventually just kind of lose the game. But with Mightyena in here, as long as we KO their Oricorio, we can use the Mightyena to one-hit KO Mew V Maxes, no problem. So like I said, we only got 1 Twin Energy in here, but we can keep it safe by using a Ranger with the Primate Wisdom comboed with Altaria and Venusaur. That makes up our draw engine in this deck. And of course, the main supporter in here is the Peony. Got to get our hand to 0, and then it's super helpful to find whatever specific trainer cards we might need on the turn, Level Balls, Evolution Incense, even Ordinary Rod sometimes to get more of our attackers back, so we can set up more attackers and continue attacking. And that is my number 1, the Hisuian Arcanine deck from Lost Origins. And that's going to do it for my top 5 Lost Origin budget decks. I'm going to be doing this, like I mentioned, in future set releases as well, maybe even 2 or 3 times, depending on how many budget decks there are with the new sets coming out. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below, like the video, stuff like that. None of these decks should run you more than about 5 packs to make it. The Arcanine might be around like 10 Lost Origin packs to make on PTCGO. The rest of them should be no more than 5 packs. So super easy and efficient decks to make if you're looking to have some fun in the Pokemon TCG and not looking to break the bank. So I definitely recommend you guys try them out. Like I mentioned, the deck lists are all available over at PokemonCard.io over on my page. Link for that in the description, so you can quickly and easily import the deck lists into PTCGO or PTCG Live and build the decks and start playing with them right away. Catch y'all in the next video.